morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is October 25th, 2021. And today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Tesla rallies to new record highs. But first, no major economic events scheduled for today. So as we look at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, we're watching the major pairs pretty much consolidate versus the USD at the top of the range. And the South African Rand weakens. Now looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ trade sideways. While looking at commodities, gold and oil both rally. Now looking at the stocks, Tesla rallies to new record highs as we mentioned. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin retreating to support at 61,000. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So a couple of things coming up this week. So we have Google coming out with its earning reports tomorrow, and Apple Computers coming out with the report on Thursday. That would be the last of the earnings season of the major corporations coming out. So with that said, I think the market is taking things into consideration. Now looking at the euro right now, we're at that resistance-ish level, 16.58. And the dollar did get a little bit weaker as this did fruit. However, look at that wedge formation that it's producing itself right now. Now, this type of ascending wedge formation could give us one or two possibilities here in a breakout either on the top or the bottom. More likely the bottom, and I'll tell you why, because what we're seeing right now is a little bit of a rotation in the markets. Okay, the stocks are not going higher, but the markets are going higher. So as weird as that says, there's a little bit of a discrepancy when it comes to that. Now looking at the GBP USD, we traded to that resistance-ish level and then we faltered. If we look at the Aussie USD also, we're right there at that top of the range. Now when we look at the USD Rand, okay, the Rand really got weaker versus the dollar, as you can see here. Let's look at a 4-hour chart. That's almost a 1435 to 1478. That's a really sharp turn in such a short period of time. Okay, so that's something to consider into today's trading if this is the top of the move. Now, this is a bit of a resistance-ish area right here. Okay, because this was previous support, and then this is subsequent resistance. Okay, so that might be a play later today. Now, looking at commodities, gold rally to 17.99. That's a big deal for gold because gold has been really just trading sideways. If you look at a daily, it's really been between these two exteriors. Okay, I don't have the resistance and support set up. 1826 to 1722. It's been really in that range. And finally, we're breaking above this area. Now, I'd like to see this with considered decent volume to see that this is really getting stronger. So something to consider later today. If it does break above that's 1800, we could see it back in that 1826-ish area. Now looking at crude oil, look at that. It's just vertical, okay? It's just continuously going up. Ever since we hit the low of August 18 of $61, we've been literally just continuing to trade upwards, and it's a sharp trade upwards. I mean, it's been really hugging this 8-day moving average and not really, deviating from it either. Okay, so I mean, the trend is your friend until it shows us that it's going to correct itself in one way or another. It's still trending upwards. Now, looking at the big board, first looking at the Dow Jones, it's still also very strong, 35,578. Pre-market trading, we're at that top of the range. However, I'm a little bit concerned here because both Apple and Facebook and Amazon sold off last Friday. Okay, Intel also having some bad news. So Intel's a bellwether. Intel is a company that you can, trade on policy because of its significant down the chain. Everything has Intel chips, computers, tablets, phones, medical devices, cars. Okay, that's all used by Intel. All right, so Intel's a very important company, and if they're missing their target, that is a big red sign on the door. Okay, so yes, does that mean that the markets will sell off tomorrow? Not necessarily, but you do want to, kind of give yourself some heads up that things are happening in the markets right now. So that's something to consider. If we're looking at the NASDAQ right now, 15,537 right now, but not at our top highs. Okay, so there's a little bit discrepancy because I would have expected the NASDAQ to be at all-time highs because it's those stocks that were taking us higher, including Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft also coming out with earnings this week as well. 308 is where we're trading at, 310 just faltering a little bit there. If we look at Amazon though, it was down significantly. If we look at Facebook, a gap down back to our lows of 322. So something to consider going into today's trading. Apple coming out with its earnings on Thursday, 147 and steady and trading at that top of their range. So that might be just anticipation. Now looking at Tesla, it's at all-time highs, 908 and possibly going to $1,000 a share. Now Tesla is not a major company that reflects the current situation in the markets altogether, but it's a company that's expanding. Okay, so even in a bear market, there are companies that are doing pretty well. We're not in a bear market. We're still in a bull market, but that's something to consider, that Tesla may consider going even higher. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, we retraced down to 60,000 and bouncing off of it from our highs of $67,000 a Bitcoin. Okay, so this is still a pretty strong for all intents and purposes, but let's see how this unfolds this week. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.